What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Although Marvel Studios did not fully reveal the entire Phase 6 slate at San Diego Comic-Con, they did reveal the release date schedule, meaning when all of their movies are going to drop. And we do believe that we know what these specific movies are. After analyzing the potential movies that could take place during these slots, we believe we know what's coming. And as most people could probably guess, all of these movies are going to be incredibly important for Avengers Doomsday. Some will be very important for Avengers Secret Wars, and some will be incredibly important for both of them. Now, for right now, Phase 6 is as planned. The Fantastic Four, July 25th, 2025. Blade, November 7th, 2025. However, if you've been following the news about Blade, maybe don't get too attached to that release date. It's changed before many times and is likely to change again. Kevin Feige recently spoke up about Blade when he was doing his rounds for the Deadpool and Wolverine interviews, and he basically said they are going to make it, but they're not going to make it until it's done right. They need to get it right before they will make the movie, start pre-production, start filming, everything. So they're working on the script right now, and apparently the new one is pretty good. Mahershala Ali likes it so far. Kevin Feige likes it so far. But going back to what he said, they're not going to make it until it's good enough, hopefully great, and that's a good thing. They shouldn't make that movie unless it's going to be really good. So hopefully it sticks to that November 7th release date, but some people are already stating that it's not. But after that, we do have an Untitled Marvel movie, the first one, and that is scheduled for February 13th of 2026. And we have a relatively good idea of what's going to go in this spot. There are two movies that we know are going to be released at some point in time. The only question is which one will come first. Both happen to make sense coming first before Avengers Doomsday or coming after it. And what everybody believes should be the one movie that comes before Avengers Doomsday is Doctor Strange 3. Now, Benedict Cumberbatch, who plays Doctor Strange, recently said that he is excited to come back and do another movie. And of course, we knew he was coming back. There's no way he was just done after Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, especially after that post-credit. But that post-credit scene from the movie is what makes him returning so important. And just based off of all of the events that are going to go down, it makes sense for Doctor Strange's story with Clea to happen before Avengers Doomsday. The big idea behind Multiverse of Madness was that incursions can happen when you multiverse travel, when you end up in a universe you're not supposed to be in. But it is also important to note that that's not the only reason incursions occur, at least not in the comics. But at the end of Multiverse of Madness, the movie that talked about how dangerous incursions are and multiverse traveling can be, we saw Clea show up and tell Doctor Strange that he caused an incursion, and he was going with her to fix it. And man, he did not hesitate to go at all. But Charlize Theron as Clea, we totally understand. Now, what's really important about Doctor Strange 3 and what we've heard so far about it that makes us believe that it is coming before Avengers Doomsday is that it is reportedly going to tackle the Time Runs Out storyline in the comics. And this happens right before Secret Wars, right before the destruction of the multiverse. Time literally runs out, and then the multiverse is destroyed. Now, Alex Perez from thecosmiccircus.com is the one who reported on this, and he also stated that the Black Priests were also going to be a group that is established in Doctor Strange 3. And this is quite an interesting group because in the comics, the Black Priests were one of the many different groups that were trying to stop incursions. They wanted to try and stop the multiverse being destroyed by going and destroying each universe's incursion point, which would be, in the comics, every Earth from each universe. Now, sometimes that meant destroying Earth, and that was an extreme method, and that kind of made them enemies to a lot of people. For instance, you could see how Captain America might not want to do that. But in Doctor Strange 3, we could probably assume that the Black Priests are going to be a multiversal group because Clea comes and gets Strange and says that he caused an incursion and they're going to go fix it. So we can assume in Doctor Strange 3, incursions become an even bigger deal. They try to fix some of them, but ultimately they are going to fail because that is what Secret Wars is going to be, the destruction of the multiverse. But we believe this is going to happen at the end of Avengers Doomsday, which is why Doctor Strange 3, dealing with incursions and the beginning of the destruction of the multiverse, makes sense to come before. That way you go right into Doomsday, where Strange says the multiverse is being destroyed and they have have to try and save it, and they figure out that it is being destroyed or threatened by Doom. They of course fail to defeat Doom, and that leads to the destruction of the multiverse, which happens at the end of Avengers Doomsday. So that is why this slot is most likely going to be Doctor Strange 3. Now, after this untitled Marvel movie comes immediately Avengers Doomsday, May 1st, 2026, 3 months later. And then after that, we get Untitled Marvel Movie 2 that comes out on July 24th of 2026, just 2 months after Avengers Doomsday. This, according to insider Daniel RPK, could be Spider-Man 4, which does make sense based off of everything that we've heard from Kevin Feige and Tom Holland. They have been working on the script. Tom Holland is involved with that script, and Kevin Feige said very recently that he should be reading a final script for it very soon. And this makes sense considering how important Spider-Man is to the MCU. He is one of the main characters, and his story needs to continue on. Obviously expect him to show up in Avengers Doomsday, but of course we are getting that Spider-Man 4 film, and it's most likely coming in July. And this was removed from Disney's official release schedule, but it's believed it was removed because that is part Sony. But then that takes us to Untitled Marvel Movie 3, which is scheduled right now for November 6th of 2026. And this is where it gets a little complicated, because this movie takes place before Secret Wars, but the new release schedule shows 2 movies taking place after Secret Wars. Avengers Secret Wars comes out May 7th of 2027, but we have 2 movies coming out after that, one on July 23rd, 2027, and another on November 5th, 2027. Now, myself and a lot of other fans believe that the November 5th of 2027 release date will most likely be Secret Wars Part 2, because they're not just going to end the multiverse saga with a movie that is not Secret Wars. That's the big finale. So it would make sense, considering how big the story is, to have a 2-parter here. That means there are 2 other movies in which we don't know what they are, but we do know that Shang-Chi 2 is confirmed and that they are most likely going to do a Thor 5. And considering how important Loki is going to be in the multiverse saga moving forward, he did make Yggdrasil, the tree, but if the multiverse gets destroyed, then all of those branches that he's holding onto are going to get destroyed as well, which frees him up. So we can assume, at least we can hope, he would eventually run into Thor. And we've also heard that Valhalla is going to play a pretty decent role in the multiverse saga as well. So that leads us to believe that Thor 5 is indeed going to happen. Plus, it would be Chris Hemsworth's last Thor film. A lot of people don't really think that he's making it out of the multiverse reboot, which I would totally understand, because we've already heard rumors that we're going to revive characters like Iron Man, Black Widow, Captain America. They're going to be played by new actors and get new stories. It would just kind of make sense that the original Avengers would all get that same treatment, a revived Hulk, a revived Thor, Hawkeye, etc., and probably have some different Avenger characters in there as well. So these 2 movies could be Shang-Chi 2, and they could be Thor 5. Now, Shang-Chi 2 is confirmed, but we might not get that until after Secret Wars. And by that, I mean after Secret Wars Part 2, after the multiverse saga. I do believe Shang-Chi is going to survive the reboot. And we know Wong is going to be very important as well, and he's going to be there in Avengers Doomsday. And he's the one that kind of told Shang-Chi and Katie to be ready. You're Avengers now, essentially. So it's really easy for him to bring them into Avengers Doomsday. So he doesn't necessarily have to have a solo movie, Shang-Chi 2, before the end of the multiverse saga. So that would leave 1 movie. The movie that would happen between Avengers Secret Wars Part 1 and Avengers Secret Wars Part 2, if we are accurate about there being a Part 2. And that movie would most likely be the X-Men film that Marvel Studios has been working on for quite some time now. The last we heard about it, they pretty much locked down a writer, and things were going along quite nicely. That means it probably is on track to release in the multiverse saga. Plus, if all of this is taking place on Battleworld, that means the Avengers and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and any other characters out there will all be mixed together. And like we've been talking about on the channel for a long time, and like a lot of fans have been saying, who says that they're going to get along? In fact, in Deadpool and Wolverine said F the Avengers, so clearly he doesn't like them. So who knows what the X-Men in the universe that they're in right now, 10,005, think about the Avengers? Because as far as we know, they don't have Avengers. And I don't think that they're gonna get along too well when both of their universes get destroyed and they don't really know the exact cause. This might lead to conflict between the two different teams. Also, clearly both teams are good and they will eventually figure that out, but then that will lead to how do they restore the multiverse and how do they take down Doom, and that could also lead to conflict as well with differences of opinions on how to do things. In fact, the events leading up to Avengers Secret Wars in the comics are pretty rough. There is a lot of conflict between a lot of different characters because they don't agree on how to stop the incursions from happening, how to stop their universe from being destroyed, how to stop the entire multiverse from being destroyed. Some people think that they should destroy the other Earth that's about to crash into theirs. Some people think that they can't do that. So eventually the Future Foundation, Reed Richards, a bunch of people build the raft and they survive. And eventually they all kind of end up on Battleworld. But that's a topic for a whole nother video. The point of this one is that I believe we've locked down the movies that are going to be coming in Phase 6. Doctor Strange 3, Thor 5, possibly an Avengers vs. X-Men film because a lot of insiders have been talking about it, and of course Kevin Feige has confirmed they're working on an X-Men movie, and then a Secret Wars Part 2. Now there is a possibility that Shang-Chi could be thrown in there, maybe in place of Thor 5, but again, considering how important Loki's going to be in Valhalla, I doubt it. So I believe that is what Phase 5 is going to be as far as movies are concerned. If you disagree with me, please let me know, and let me know what you think it's going to be. And whether you agree or disagree, let me know if you are excited about this in the comments down below. And please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date on everything with the MCU. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.